Hello, my name is Dalton McLaughlin, and I'm representing San Francisco State University's Integrated Researchers as their group leader. Our origin of focus is Syria itself, and I will be addressing states, IGOs, NGOs, and non-state actors. First, it's important that we can distinguish between these different terms. According to Global Perspectives, which is our course reader, a state is a complex political structure that includes citizens from a variety of ethnicities and has four important characteristics: territory, government, a loyal population, and recognition by other states. International government organizations, IGOs, refers to agencies that deal with global or regional interests, while non-governmental organizations, NGOs, are private groups formed to take action in response to a specific global issue, such as threats to natural environment or human rights. We have a clear issue in Syria right now, and it is up to IGOs to show support. NGOs, such as International Rescue Committee, state that humanitarian organizations are prohibited from reaching Syrian communities in conflict zones, resulting in a lack of possible aid. According to International Media Corps, there are at least 4.25 million displaced Syrians, and UNICEF, which is an NGO, states that 2 million of these are children. A major issue is with funding, and UNICEF, as of in March 2013, has stated that they've only received $14.9 million of their $68.4 million requested. This is a low 22%, and one can imagine how much aid that they desperately need. Why did I mention NGOs a second ago? I did this because I want to show that groups that wish to help cannot. So as I've said, the NGOs wish to help, and that's a big issue that they can't, and IGOs need to be the ones that take charge. Unfortunately, major ones lack funding, and you thought by now that maybe the Security Council would have taken action in helping, but according to President Obama, they are butting heads and they cannot work together. So what does this mean for Syria? This means that there might be possible U.S. military that comes necessary. Perhaps some funding from IGOs can happen, or maybe NGOs can actually get into the place where they need to be to help out. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alejandro Adame, and I'm a research member for SFSU's Integrated Researchers Thinking Tank. Today I'll be discussing the idea of ethnicity and diversity and how it correlates with Syria. Syria today is divided into many different religious groups with different cultures. Religion explains the basic natural and supernatural order and morality of the universe. Some religious groups in Syria include the Sunni and the Wahhabi people, both who support the overthrowing of the Assad regime and are also known for having close ties with the terrorist group Al-Qaeda. Others include Christians and Shia, both who are supporters of the Assad regime and the idea of not having a Muslim-based government. The United States feel that with their ascribed status as a world leader that they should do what's best for the Syrian people as a whole and remove Assad from power. Ascribed status is the social position given to an individual, or state for this matter, that is determined by factors. This also means that the US will propose involuntary innovation. This is a huge problem because involuntary innovation will only cause more problems between the Syrian people with different religious and cultural backgrounds. Involuntary innovation is the idea that members of a weaker society are forced to adapt traits of a more powerful society. Ethnocentrism will take into play shortly after and spark a civil war among all groups in Syria, which means that the diverse groups will judge one another based on their own beliefs and standards. This will make the problem in Syria worse. The United States must make sure cultural relativity, which means that the actions amongst each culture must be understood and mutual with one another before making any initiative actions. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Yasipit Namet, and I'm a researcher for the San Francisco State Integrated Researchers team. Today I'll be discussing economic development in the context of Syria and the crisis going on. As a result of the civil war, Syria has been hit by severe economic sanctions, restricting trade with the Arab League, Australia, Canada, the EU, and the United States. The economy of Syria is based mainly on agriculture, oil, industry, and services. These sanctions and the instability associated with the civil war have reversed the previous growth of the Syrian economy due to a state of decline since 2011. With the collapse in export revenues, the official exchange rate has depreciated by 180% between the start of the conflict in March 2011 and July 2013. Prior to the crisis, Syria's economic reform efforts had helped strengthen its growth performance. However, despite these reforms, the economic growth was not inclusive, and it didn't decrease poverty, and it increased the job market. Rural society became increasingly marginalized and suffered from severe shocks related to both the economic transitions and droughts, fueling further social and political discontent. Most importantly, Syria's GDP relies heavily on the oil and agricultural sector, which are subjected to price volatility, rendering the pillars of their economy and the economy itself unstable and unsustainable. Data released by the International Energy Agency shows that Syria's oil output was consistently below 200,000 barrels a day in 2012, compared to the 400,000 barrels a day in 2009. The oil sector provided about 20% of the government's revenues and about 35% of its exports in 2010. Oil exports of services, foreign transfers of income, and remittance were the main sources of foreign earning, and now they are in severe decline due to the current crisis and international sanctions. The Central Bureau of Statistics shows that the Consumer Price Index in 2013 has increased about 212% since March 2011, at the beginning of the crisis, and about 161 annually since 2012. As a result of Syria's fragmented economy, this figure is substantially higher and varied throughout the country. The rising CPI is mostly hindering to the large population of internally displaced persons and the poor, as the highest price increases were on necessities such as electricity, gas, basic food items, and clothing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Martha, and I am a co-leader at SFSU's Integrated Researchers. I am going to talk about health issues in Syria. Before the conflict, Syria had a well-functioning health system with advanced medical expertise and its own pharmaceutical industry. But today, those resources are almost completely depleted. A report by Ministry of Health shows that up to 60% of hospitals have no or limited capacity. In addition to this, over 50% of ambulances are out of service because of damage. The Syrian army has occupied hospitals, using them as bases for snipers, tanks, and soldiers. And UN investigators confirms that fighters loyal to President Bashar al-Assad are denying people medical care as a weapon of war. One of the latest examples was a field hospital in Al-Bab in north of Syria, which was bombed by the Syrian Air Force, killing patients and medical staff. There is a huge lack of medical staff in Syria. Last month, a group of 55 doctors and medical professionals sent an open letter to The Lancet, where they warned that Syria's healthcare system is at a breaking point because of these attacks at hospitals and humanitarian organizations that are being denied access to patients. They also tell about almost 500 health workers who are currently imprisoned in Syria and about 15,000 doctors that have been forced to flee abroad. In addition to lack of medical staff, there is also lacking of life-saving medicines such as cancer medicines and insulin. There has also been an increase in risk of infectious diseases such as hepatitis A and measles, due to disruptions in vaccination programs, overcrowding of public shelters, damage to water and sanitation infrastructure, and lack of waste management. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Blake Armis, and I am one of the researchers for the think tank SFSU Integrated Researchers. Today I will be discussing a couple of the recent security concerns caused by the Syrian crisis. It is believed that the Sunni Muslim coalition, including groups such as the Syrian Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda, are challenging the Shia Muslim groups such as the Syrian Alawites and Hezbollah. International concern has also been raised due to the risk of chemical weapons falling into the hands of Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, or other terrorist groups. If these weapons happen to be obtained by these groups, there is great concern that the whole situation will take a dramatic turn for the worse. Who knows what they would do with this type of artillery? There is not an abundance of information at this time, but these situations are currently under close watch and are continuing to develop. Another matter in regards to security in Syria has to do with the United Nations Security Council and their attempts at urging everyone involved in the crisis to immediately provide access for humanitarian aid. On October 2, 2013, the UNSC encouraged the Syrian government to allow cross-border aid deliveries to be made in order for relief agencies to enter the country and help the victims. The council also encouraged the government to agree pauses of fighting along the routes taken by the relief organizations to ensure their safety. Humanitarian intervention is of the utmost importance and requires immediate action throughout the entire country. The Security Council was so alarmed at the situation and the need for assistance that it contacted the government in Damascus and urged them to take steps toward the expansion of humanitarian relief operations. It also urged all parties involved to support the humanitarian efforts of the United Nations and other agencies and cease the torment. The Security Council maintains, and I quote, that all obligations under humanitarian law must be respected in all circumstances. No matter how dangerous the situation or how difficult it is to enter, the Security Council is determined to send help to the Syrians in need. Over the coming weeks, we will be able to see responses of the groups contacted by the Security Council. At this time, Syria's current security situation is not good. They have to worry about the increasing tensions between extremist groups, as well as trying to make sure these groups do not obtain chemical weapons. Ensuring the safety of humanitarian relief groups on their journey to help victims is also of the highest priority. Thank you.